I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
And I'm Waleed Cope. This is Commerce and Chill.
And welcome back to the next episode, the latest, greatest episode of Commerce
And Chill.
I'm Commerce.
And I'm Chill.
And we're both going to be really chill today because it's a little gray outside. You can't tell. So we're just going to move in line with the weather. Slow and easy. Today we're going to talk about branding. Cope.
Johnson.
What do you think about branding?
Branding is important, but I think people get kind of hung up on it. Especially when they talk about personal branding versus their business branding. With the whole social media thing now, they go back and forwards. But to me, it's simple. What's your thoughts?
So I think that branding is actually kind of complicated.
Okay.
Is there a lot of people out there trying to help you find your brand, but how can somebody tell you what your brand is? That's something that you kind of have to know for yourself. Like, to me, brand is synonymous with identity. And if you don't have your own identity, are you going to let somebody else define who you are?
Well, that's why I say I think it's kind of simple, because you're saying your brand is your identity and somebody trying to define it for you or identify it. When I think of brand, I just think of reputation, whether it's the personal or the business side. What's your reputation that you're marketing or that people are seeing on social or on your website or whatever, however means you're communicating with the population? I look at your brand as your reputation. They're the same thing. So you're saying identity, like, I agree with you. So go back to your part that is complicated.
Yeah, but it is complicated, and especially if you talk about social media.
Okay.
Right? Because depending on the social media platform that you use, your brand can take on different looks, different personas, if you will.
Okay.
So my LinkedIn profile might be my school teacher glasses, but my Instagram profile might be my leather jacket. My Twitter profile might be my pearls and some jeans. And then my Facebook profile was my jeans and my sneakers.
Yeah, but at the same, it's still your brand and your reputation. It's just it's a different part of your personality that's being displayed on these different platforms. So where on LinkedIn, it's your business networking. Where on Facebook or Twitter, maybe it's like you're at a cocktail party, and on Instagram, you're like party hanging out with the people in the community or your friends. So it's still you, but it's not like, on Instagram, it's like a totally different person that you see on LinkedIn. There's still similarities, but I see the difference when people try to fake it on these different platforms. So then their brand is one thing on LinkedIn, but then when you drill down to their personal, and listen, everybody's free to do what they want to do in their personal time. I'm not knocking it, but in this day and age, you need to be mindful, because if you're pitching somebody a business deal and they go to your LinkedIn and like your LinkedIn is like you're all suited and booted and like all tight up with the tie and everything in your business outfits, and then they go to your like Facebook or your Instagram and you're like, woo, party time with some drinks in your hand and you got on some bikini running through Cancun. I'm like, I don't know, like it could have an impact on it, because people are going to be like, what does that, how do they view that? Is your brand, your reputation. And it's nothing wrong with it. You could do what you want to do, but we just need to be mindful of what you're putting out there on these different platforms and what message it's sending and how people receive it.
So you bring up a good point about what people are when they're looking online to find you, especially if you're doing business, right? So think about branding, your personal branding, as it relates to your business, and people are looking for you.
Okay.
That's one of the areas where it gets really complicated, because
absolutely,
I've had corporate representatives come to me and say, "Oh, I saw you on social media, and it made me want to learn more about your business." So I never just leave it at that. I was going to dig down and drill deeper to understand what what was the motivation behind that. And so this particular case, the gentleman said, "Oh, I saw. Didn't you do a TED Talk?" So just for clarification, I've never done a TED Talk yet, but Ted, holla at your girl. I did do a talk.
But if somebody thinks you did one and it gets us more business, like I'm good with going with that.
I'm not mad at all. I did have the opportunity to speak at the Inc. Women's Conference several years ago.
So maybe they thought it was that.
And the format did seem something similar to a TED Talk. So this particular corporate representative was able to find the presentation that I had given at the Inc. Women's Forum, as well as some of the guest appearances I had made on MSNBC's Your Business.
Got it.
And so in seeing me in those lights, talking about the Johnson Security brand, talking about my business brand, and then representing my personal brand well, he was like, oh, when I showed my team, we said, oh, we want to get you in our supplier development program so that we can eventually do business with you. Because as a small business, it's not that large corporations don't want to do business with us, but they want to mitigate the risk, because anytime you enter some new vendor or contractor into the system, it's going to be some level of risk. And especially with small businesses, large organizations often see that risk as something of, we can work with a big guy, a big company, not a big guy. We can work with a big company that's proven, and that's less of a risk because they're a big brand. They have all of this stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's like a total misconception, though. Like,
it is a misconception.
Because how many big brands screw it up every day?
Every day. But that doesn't mean that the person that's in procurement is going to make a different selection, because they want to make sure that they keep their job.
I get it.
And keep mitigating that risk by going with a larger, well-known entity, as opposed to say, oh, I took a risk on a small business and it didn't work out. If you take a risk on a large organization and it doesn't work out, it's like, oh, that's par for the course. But with us, we're considered more risky.
Yeah, but that's because of the narrative, and that's because they're playing to the internal politics. Because it's no way I would sit here and even like sign off on or co-sign that someone in procurement somewhere, and this is no disrespect to people in procurement, because they have to answer to higher ups, and the higher ups answer to whoever they answer to. It could be the shareholders, the board of directors. So they're pandering to different metrics that they all, work towards, and their bonuses are tied into or whatever. But if I'm in procurement and I got a small business here and a large business, and I decide to choose the large business and they screw it up, truth be told, my butt should be in just as much hot water if I chose the big company over the smaller company. Now, if I choose a small company, and let's say they happen to go out of business during this contract period that I procured their services because they didn't have the financial wherewithal, or there was something going on the back end that wasn't identified during this RFP procurement process, and they go out of business, then maybe I should take some heat on that, absolutely, because I didn't do my due diligence. But the same thing could happen to the big company. Like, how many big companies have we seen go out of business in our lifetime?
Yeah, but the difference is they have bigger lifelines and safety nets than we do.
They do, but at the end of the day, just because someone's small and someone's big doesn't predicate whether the size means they will do the job better. Now, there are some things they might have access to more resources, they might have some more experience in it, but still, I even take that back, because I know smaller firms who have just as much experience as some of the larger firms, if not more, and are a better player in that arena than the larger firms. So, yeah, I'll get off my soapbox, but yeah.
Shameless plug for the Soapbox.
Yeah,
Soapbox
sorry.
NYC.
Download the app.
.nyc.
Soapbox.nyc. Okay, let me take it a few steps back, though, because when we talk about large corporations and small businesses trying to do business and the branding, let's marry that. How you brand your small business can put you in a better position to do business with corporations, especially if you control the narrative. So
absolutely,
use social media and use what you're putting out to define your brand, as opposed to letting somebody define your brand for you. And like you said, there are different ways. Sometimes a small business can have just as much experience, but it's all about leverage. Leverage comes from the word lever, which is a tool that you use.
It's like whipping out the dictionary here.
No, I just I want to make it plain, though, because sometimes we use words and we don't think about what the etymology or the background is to those words.
Okay.
But when you think about an actual lever, right? Something that's causing things to balance, or have something with something affixed to either side, you use your leverage as best as possible, especially as a small business, so that you can position yourself and your organization for the utmost success. And we've been able to do that well because when we talk about our brand, we talk about over a half century worth of experience. And granted, we do go across larger competitors who don't have that much experience. And so that's something that we need to embrace when we're telling our brand story, when we're relaying our brand message.
Right.
And additionally, we talk about experience. It doesn't always have to be your experience as a prime, because you can get just as much experience in the background
doing
and be
sub work,
better able to identify what the challenges are, come up with innovative ideas, and make the change, as opposed to a large organization where there may be lots of layers of bureaucracy, or just lots of layers of just complications, wherein like an organization like ours,
three people, everything is done. 2-3 people, you're right at the top.
Exactly.
It's quick execution.
Exactly. So if you're a small business and you're trying to get in front of large corporations and do business with them, talk about the successes that you've had working with other people, other organizations. If it was your professional life before you started your business, if it was as a side hustle, if you showcase and spotlight the successes of people on your team, use that and weave that into your brand story. So when you get to the storytelling part, that's how David defeats Goliath, right? It's not just on pure brawn, it's on how you tell the story. Right? It's how you tell the story. So if you weave those things into your brand story, and get in front of the right people, you can use that to grow your personal brand.
Right. No, like if we're talking about brand, and like we're in a small business, or whatever they want to classify us now, small, medium, but whatever category we fall in. And majority of our colleagues and friends are in the same demographics when it comes to business, small and medium, few large. But at the end of the day, like you said, there is no way David should beat Goliath in that scenario, right? But we all know the story. David does beat Goliath using wits, the proper tools, and engaging Goliath on his fight and not Goliath's fight, right? It's like anything happens on a live podcast, somebody's making noises in the background, I don't know. But in that scenario, as small and mid-sized businesses, we're David. And every day we can beat Goliath due to the internet. Like we didn't have the internet when we were younger. Now the internet, this has got to be the greatest. Well, let me rephrase it. We didn't have the internet in the full capacity and form that it is now. Like we had, and then you just waited, and then you were like, "Mom, Dad, hang up the phone. I'm on the internet," because somebody would pick up the other line in the house, right? And we had 256K modem, and we were like, "Holy smokes, this is fast," right? Versus now, like it's a whole nother thing. And you had you had chat rooms and message boards. Now websites are a whole new thing than what they are now. So you talked about narrative and branding. A small, medium-sized business can dictate their narrative online, where when someone sees it, you can present the same presentation as Goliath, as the big boys, and look and have the same look and feel as them when a prospective client comes to your website, or they go to your Instagram or Facebook, or they go to your Snapchat or whatever it might be, and they say, "Wow, like the photos are very well curated. It's good copy." They go to your Medium, but wherever you're posting content, your LinkedIn, that you can make yourself look just as good as the big guys, but you have to put in the work. And that's how David beats Goliath in the small versus the big guys. Because one, we're more nimble, we can move quicker, we can adjust faster, and we can take losses faster than them and adjust to it. Now, financially, they might be able to absorb their losses better than a small business where it impacts our bottom line. But we can test on a smaller scale, on a larger scale. We can do smaller tests than a bigger business can. So David can beat Goliath by testing, right? Because David could have picked up, if we go back to the real story, he had his slingshot. He could have picked up a couple different size rocks and hurled them at Goliath, and missed or got it wrong, because he had the distance between him and Goliath to keep trying. Where if he would have fought Goliath on his fight, he would have been close hand-to-hand combat with a sword, and Goliath would have ripped him apart. So as small businesses, branding is important for us, or reputation, whatever you want to call it, on Yelp, on Google, on Facebook, wherever, any place somebody can review your business, we should be on top of it. And I hear some people get caught up on Yelp. Somebody left me a bad review. Sometimes a bad review could be a good thing, because if you go somewhere, and we all do it on Amazon, you look to buy a product and you see all 5-star reviews and 1,000 people brought it. You're going to be like, let me rephrase that. Let's say not 1,000 reviews. You go to a product on Amazon and you see 10 to 12 5-star reviews. And in the reviews, they write these little short comments or a couple long ones. You're going to be suspect. You're going to be like, they got their friends to write it, or that's all the employees at that firm. But if there's one bad one, and then you go and you drill down on it, and I do this all the time. I buy something on Amazon, I look at the one that has the most reviews, and I go to the worst review first. And I say, whatever they're complaining about, if I can deal with that, and the product does what I want it to do, I'll buy it. So the person says, oh, the shipping came late. Or when I got it, it was damaged, like something was cracked. Okay, that's not the manufacturer's fault. Whoever handled the shipping for them, that's their fault. Or maybe the neighbor, dropped the box, or the kid next door jumped up and down on it when nobody was looking. Who knows, right? But the bad review gives you the option. It gives you the power to go and address that concern in the community. So you get a bad review on Yelp. I'm like, attack that review in a positive way. The customer says, this is the experience I had, blah, 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 blah. And you go in there, hey, Jane, glad you shared your experience. Sorry that this happened. This is not our normal practice. This is how we normally do it. And then to make up for it, I like to do X, Y, and Z. Because sometimes it's not about the problem happening. It's about how we handle the problem, and then the client or customer reacts to how we handle it. So, use those to your advantage to improve your brand/reputation.
I'm going to disagree.
Go for it.
So personally, I can take feedback. I can take feedback well. Mm-hmm. But what I've learned as a business owner is that the boos often come from the cheap seats.
They do.
So the people that are complaining most often are people that either didn't have clear expectations, people who you asked how things were going and everything was good until it wasn't good. And then when they got pissed to the highest festivity, they didn't really want to deal with whatever the real issue is. Because I'll say for us and our teams, we're very proactive about dealing with challenges.
Okay.
Like addressing them. What is the situation? How can we improve them? Communicating and then following up in a timely manner, right? That's just important because we know things go wrong.
Every day things go wrong.
We mess things up. Big guys mess things up. But it's not about getting things messed up. It's about how do you get close to right? How do you make things right?
Right.
It's not that whether or not I win or I lose. It's whether I win or I learn.
Okay.
And so we've had some instances where there are people that go and leave reviews and they're just fake. And
right, but I'm talking about a legitimate client. I'm not talking about those bogus reviews or a disgruntled employee, because technically the terms of service on the review board say it's not supposed to be anything that's a conflict of interest, former employee, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
right, but let's
I'm talking about a client legitimately who uses your service. Somebody drops the ball on the team, or just Murphy's Law kicks in, and they have a bad experience, and then they go and voice their feedback on one of these platforms.
But I'm saying there's so many cases where people give negative feedback and it may not be based in truth. And as a business owner, I could go out and try to address every single complaint, or I can say, okay, these are real, these are not real. I know these are not real. The ones that are not real, I'm just not going to give them any energy.
Right. But you know they're not real. But how does the person who wants to spend money at your business, who's looking to choose between your business and two others, and they're using Yelp or Google reviews as the platform to decide who I'm going to use?
Well, that's a valid question. The thing is, understanding our businesses and our business models, in many instances, when clients are considering us, they're not going to Yelp.
It depends on which business we talking about. Because we talk about the box, they go straight to Google and say, hey, laundry service, dry cleaning near me or in the area. And then it's like, boom, okay, what comes up first? Google comes up on the right-hand side, and this is just sidebar. small businesses, you should be using Google My Business. Posting on it, updating it. Trust me, go to Google your business and see how your brand appears. And you'll notice that search area on the right-hand side in the column, and then those 5 that pop up that map, they're dominating, and then Yelp appears right under it. They're dominating that, and you should be using that to take advantage of it.
And if you don't know how to do that, I recommend that you use one of the Google Coaches. The Google Coaches program is amazing. They can teach you shortcuts, how to understand, how to use the analytics, and how to best position your business on Google, because they know how Google works. So if you don't know how Google works, go to Google Coaches. Just Google it, and they'll figure it out.
Or just Google how Google works and read. Go to YouTube. But someone Googles for laundry dry cleaning, that comes up. And then they see 4 stars, right? I think we're 4.1 or whatever right now. And then they'll read one of the reviews, depending how it's sorted, or if they go to Yelp, depending how it was sorted on each one, because it typically uses Google. It doesn't always filter by the latest. It uses whatever their algorithm is for Yelp, Google, and the others. And then you look at it and you say, oh, wow, here's somebody that left a review for 3 stars and they said X, Y, and Z. And it could be our new competitor who just opened up X blocks away from us, right? You and I, when we read it, we'd be like, oh, we know that's fake, because we didn't have anyone come in to say they brought a fur coat and we ruined it because we don't do fur coats. But the person reading it is not going to know. But if they do see that review and then they see, oh, look, the business responded, and then they click and read the response and they're like, wow, they care. And that response is a tasteful response, not like I've seen some people be like, oh, this is a fake review, or if it's a real customer, we met with you 3 times, no way you could satisfy you, you're just unruly. That doesn't help. That's just my opinion. Some of you are going to disagree or not, but I believe positivity wins in the end, because if people like to do business with people who they like.
Like, know, and trust.
100%. Like, know, and trust.
At the end of this podcast, though, I just want anyone who's receiving this information not to be turned off if they get a bad Google review, a bad Yelp review, because you can control the narrative and you can rebut and respond to some of the criticism that you get online, but don't let it knock you off course. Know that you still need to focus on what the end game is, and that there are haters out there, but don't give the haters any energy. It's like a fire. You don't want to give it any oxygen. You focus on what your goals are. If you need to, address those things and keep it moving. Don't lose any sleep on online haters. Period. End of story. It's your brand. You own it.
I mean, they're going to be there. Use them to your advantage. Honestly, you should feel sorry for them. Think about it this way. If someone has the time to pick up their mobile device or their laptop or whatever and look you up on social, scroll through your feed, and then sit there and say, I read this comment, this caption, and then type out a negative comment, I feel sorry for them. Because they just took X amount of time out their life, and as far as I know, we only get one life. We only get one shot at this. So I'm going to spend 10 minutes or whatever X minutes from my precious life to leave a negative comment about Johnny 33 redhead that I've never even met in person, to say your picture is whack and your eyelashes are too short. Why? So let your haters be your motive. I think you said it before. Let your haters be your motivators.
Elevators.
They're going to be people that kind of go in on you like, oh my gosh, I don't believe she didn't have any makeup on. Or why are they recording on the train? Don't they see that somebody wants to sit down? Yeah, there are going to be a lot of haters. But then there's going to be somebody that's like, you know what? I was on a train and I was trying to talk to somebody and people were looking at me the same way. So let your haters be your elevators when it comes to your social media.
Thank you. Let your haters be your elevator. Let them uplift you to put out more positivity. I feel bad for them. I do.
Next, we don't have time for that.
Okay, so brand.
So brand. What are your thoughts about branding as a couple, right? Because you see, if you look at some people's personal brand profiles or how they present their brand, they don't give you any semblance that they are in a relationship. And there are benefits.
Because maybe they're still trying to hook up. No.
Speak the truth and shame the devil.
I'm just saying.
But I mean, there are benefits to promoting yourself as being in a stable relationship in your branding, your personal branding, as well as that some people may see there being some benefits to not promoting your relationship or the fact that you're with someone in your branding. What do you think about that?
I don't know. To me, I'll use this as an example. So you have your own social profile, and once in a while, like there might be a photo or video that pops up, and I happen to be in it because we work together. So we're going to an event together, or we're with a client, and our team is with us, and they capture that moment, and it's for your profile, but I happen to be in it, and vice versa. And then we decided to start doing this podcast. Now, the two have merged where for a while they were just totally separate, independent. Nobody would know if you didn't know us that we worked together. There was some correlation, unless you did some research. But to me, I just think people give it too much thought. And I got caught up in it because at one point I was like, should we do it? And even had a meeting with the content team, the media team, and we were like, make sure we don't put too much of the other person in the other person's profile because we don't want to take away from it. But the question is, you don't really know until you do it. So sometimes people get hung up on, should I do a personal brand along with my corporate brand, or should I just have the corporate brand and let that be the one? I'm like, let's just do it. Because at the end of the day, if we put the energy and do it and it works, mazel tov. But if it doesn't, you learn something from it. You just said it earlier. Either you learn, I don't fail, I learn, or something like that you said earlier, right? So if you do it, what data can I get from it? You were talking earlier when you were on the phone with the rep from one of the payroll companies, and they were like, "Oh, we want to sell you this service," but really they wanted us to pay the money, so they
wanted us to pay them money so they could take our data and sell it to other people.
Right. They wanted us to pay a certain amount per employee so they could do a reporting gather all this data and then give us just report. I don't know what it was for. And then say, this is how you should use our services. But you captured all that data. I paid you for it. You're putting that data into your system, and then you're repurposing that data to make more money. So my thing is, just do something. You were like, oh, should I do a personal brand or should I do a corporate brand? I'm like, do whichever one you feel most comfortable with and just do it. And then learn from it, see what data and interaction comes back from it, and then adjust. Like David and Goliath. Keep testing and learning where the bigger brand is contemplating. The bigger company is like, should we do this? All right, schedule a meeting with this team. Send this proposal to the vice president. Get his thoughts on it. Where you're small and be like, just do it.
I'll just say this. In some business situations, you should always bring your whole self. Your whole self, your whole real self. But in some business situations, it helps to demonstrate that you have stability in your personal life and in your business life.
I'm just be who you are, because people say social media is bad. No. The people on social media are who they are. Social media just does one thing: it exposes who you already are. So back in the day when we were young and you just hang out with your friends till the street light came on,
nobody knew the dirt you did.
Right? If you was a jerk. Right, I'm gonna keep this clean. If you were a jerk, the people around your block, wherever you rode your bike to, or the closest park that you walked to with your friends to play ball or whatever, they knew you were a jerk. But it stayed within that community because it was insular. But now that we have the internet, so if I'm a jerk on my block and somebody posted on IG or posted on LinkedIn or wherever, or Facebook, now that whole community that sees that knows I'm a jerk. So it's not making me worse. It's not making you worse. It's just it's amplifying your exposure of who you really are.
I just know that when we look at some of the most successful people in business, many of the successful people have a strong support network at home, and that starts with their significant other. And that when they have to go outside of the work environment, there are going to be occasions where they have to bring their significant other, and the significant other is going to stand up and have to be themselves.
Right.
And so I would just advocate to anyone, bring your whole self, bring your true self. If you are involved, find somebody that's going to be supportive of you personally and what you're doing professionally. If you're in a business, that they support your business as well, and that you can take them to different business settings, and that they won't detract from your brand, that they'll only help to make your brand stronger. That would be
so basically you got to do what's comfortable for you and your significant other. So if you're comfortable doing it together, being a brand together or being on each other's brands or each other's platforms, then you should do it. If you're not comfortable, each one should respect the other person's feelings when it comes to that, and just let it be. It's like, some people put pictures of their children on social, right? I don't have kids, but I probably wouldn't do it on our platforms because it's different, right? So you got to do what's comfortable for everybody. So again, going back to your point with the couples branding, I think it can be very powerful if both parties, as you mentioned, are in alignment. They bring them true selves. They're comfortable, and then it could play in a very wide range of amplification for both, because each person can have their own audience that they bring together, and then it creates a third audience when the two personalities come together or those two platforms come together to reach another audience. That's all I got.
But for our audience, I don't feel comfortable taking up too much of their time. And we've reached the end of our time for today. So just remember, when it comes to branding, personal branding is extremely important, especially when you try to figure out how to grow your business if you're a small business owner. Weave in your story, tell your successes using your brand online, and find a significant other who will support you and your brand. And when it makes sense, as much as you feel comfortable, you can also tie in that significant other to the branding that you offer. I always like to say, with respect to marriage is the intersection of law, business, and love. So however that works for you, make it happen. Thanks for stopping by again here at Commerce and Chill. I'm Jessica, Commerce Cope.
I'm Waleed, Chill Cope. Don't forget, hit the bell, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Leave us questions. We're here for you.
Thanks for stopping by. We hope to see you in an episode real soon.